Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's the Upper Tier podcast. It's our Thursday show, but not Thursday Tier Talk. We have a bit of a transfer news show and football news, of course. Joining me, as always, my partner on the Thursday nights, the Dazzler. How are we, my friend?
Zorro.
Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu Panda.
Panda.
Tonight's Thursday Tier Talk / transfer show is brought to you by Gatorade Thirst Quencher Frost. You know, I like these weird and wonderful drinks, Niall, don't you?
And tap water,
Ishke.
tap
Ishke.
water. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Budweiser won't pay me enough.
I feel like, your man who was the fat lad on the Food Review Club,
Yes.
who's now, have you seen him now?
Yeah, he's trimmed down, isn't he?
He's using a personal trainer in a shooting match and he's
Yeah,
ripped
yeah.
to shreds now, the big lad, fair play to him. He's done an awful good job on himself, right? But
Yeah.
you know, when he goes to the different places to eat the food, he always does this thing called drink watch. I feel like I should bring a different drink to the party every week. I don't like fizzy stuff though, so I'm gonna just bring something flat but fruity on a Thursday evening into our repertoire, Niall.
Like we always do. Do you know what I did notice about? Do you know what I did notice about his videos recently, though?
What's that?
He's not eating the whole meal. He's only taking a bite. I don't know if you picked up on that. He's backed off on the portion live on telly.
It's probably a good thing, Noel, let's be honest. He was starting to really put timber on, God bless him, wasn't he?
Well, look at what he was eating.
Hasn't he done a deal with McGregor?
He may have. I don't know. He gave them. He had a good time out there, all right.
He's done a job with McGregor. Sure, the hoodies and the tracksuits he's wearing now is the Ford Stout gear.
Oh, are they? Yeah, very good.
Yeah. He had a reveal a few weeks ago where he had big news coming and blah blah. And he's a nice sort of a lad now, like, and he's watchable. In fairness to him, like, puts a good bit into it. And he said that they've collaborated with Ford Stout, and he's gonna be, product placement and all that, blah blah blah, and the whole shooting match. So he's doing well for himself. He's a nice guy.
See lads doing well, yeah, absolutely. And shout out to Black Forge as well. The food there looks amazing, to be honest. In fairness, looks really, really good.
Absolutely out of this world. Now, I wouldn't be the biggest McGregor fan in the world. And neither would my lovely lady wife. She actually can't stand him. I think if she walked down the street and he was there, she'd cross over. However, every time I see something on social media about this place, I'm thinking, I need to get here. I need to get to this place. This place just looks unbelievable. The food and the drink in it looks right out of the top drawer.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take some comments before we start, because
I was wondering, there must be comments. Niall is about to wet himself laughing here. This can only be either Morris or Mark Hogan. Who have we got first?
No, Henry's up first as always. Big up, Henry. What's the crack, Niall? How's you today? As I said to you, Henry, earlier on the chat, I'm absolutely banjaxed. I did a driveway today, lads. I weeded it, we power hosed it, we swept it off, we re-sanded it with this new stuff that goes solid. Oh man, I was at it the whole day.
Now, when you say we, who are you talking about? You and the nipper?
Me and my good lady.
Right.
Good lady, because she's mad into house stuff. She's mad into DIY and construction and all that kind of stuff. She's the one that drives me to do it. Well, I was quite happy to sit back today and watch Ascot.
Coming from a building background, Niall, you know?
The apple doesn't fall.
It is in our Levi's, isn't it?
Big up, Henry. Hope you're doing well, mate. Don't worry about that. On Henry's channel at the moment, 200 video he did tonight. Fair play to you. That's amazing, man. And 1 off 140. Almost there. Flying at the moment. Eno's in as always. What's the crack, Eno? Good to see you there. And my main man, nearly my wrestling buddy. This man has requested you to be appearing on wrestling shows going forward. Daz Reynolds. Big up, Niall. Hope you're well today.
He might get his wish. You never know. I'm a busy man. It's the only problem.
Good. I'll have to talk to your agent.
I am a busy man. This time of year, Noel, like, I have to leave pictures at home so my kids know what I look like. That's how things are rolling at the minute. Like, it's.
I said it to him already. I said, you are flat to the board.
I sure am.
I said, I'm one of the privileged few that gets an hour.
You know what? And there's not many people who would give it to Noel, but you're my boy. You know that.
Careful,
do you know what's in this one? Do you know what's in this one?
Go on.
Our good old friend, Mr. Diorolite, after me being in the sun for however many hours today to try and keep hydrated, you know. Not easy, this.
Very good.
Hitting tennis balls for 6-7 hours out in the sun all day, man. Telling you.
Absolutely. Big up to Morris there, GP Productions podcast. Big thanks for last night. Morris Speedball Hogan, yeah. I had the privilege of interviewing Speedball Mike Bailey last night from
Impact Wrestling.
former X Division champion. Of course, we're heading into Slammiversary and that big deal they've done with the Zone to bring Impact Wrestling to 170 countries, no less. So check out
So
that
that
interview.
means, what does that mean? There's about 168 of them that won't tune in?
No, what it means is that last night, for one night only, I was Morris. But just one night only.
I meant, what does the deal mean for Impact Wrestling? That's a solid 168 countries that I won't be watched in now. If they were in the back garden, I'd pull the curtains, man. They are absolute dog shit. Dog shit.
Morris,
absolute dog shit. When your top guy is either Moose or Nick Aldis, you can give up, lads. Stop it.
The top guy at the moment actually is Alex Shelley.
I seen Shelley and Saban on the dirt sheets the other day. Yeah, but your two big guys are Moose, who's just signed that big contract, and Nick Aldis, really. Like,
Shelley's
I thought
the champ
Aldis,
at the moment, going into, he's defending the belt against Aldis at Slammiversary.
Champ doesn't always mean he's the big guy in the room. We know that now. We know this long enough now, you know. No belts around CM Punk's waist. He's still the biggest guy every time he rocks up in AEW.
In terms of wrestling and in terms of that conversation, he would be the big guy in the room to me. I'm a big fan of Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Just saying.
Listen, Motor City Machine Guns, unbelievable. Really unfortunate that we didn't get to see them have some sort of a run in WWE, in the major leagues, not in the minor leagues. They might get an L trip to...
Imagine them versus the Usos. No,
where could they go? Where's that play? They might get a little trip to OTT or something, would they? Little trip to OTT.
I think Chris Sabin has been over. I'm not sure whether Alex has, but Speedball was over a couple of times. Actually, if you want to check out a good match, there's a match on YouTube, Speedball versus Pac, the Bastard, down in Cork for OTT, and it's a very, very good match. But he's had a stellar year. He won the X Division Championship at Slammiversary last year. It's up in Canada this year as well. He's Canadian, so he's hoping for big things. Let's see what happens. The main man, Darren O'Connor, is in. Darren, how are you? Noel, I'll give you a few of me trainers for that Barca shirt. Yeah. You want to see his sneaker collection, Darren?
Yeah.
That man would even rival you. Yeah, absolutely. Big time. Big time. And Morris is back in. You can come with me to the Black Forge and forfeit your bet. My calling him out in the bar. Challenge laid down. Let's see what happens there. Jade Exley spoiled my live spouting crap. Okay. And Kyle Walsh didn't turn up. I'll tell you what the problem is there, Henry, with Kyle. Kyle's a great lad, right? But I won't tell you what he works at. And what he does work at is it's a great vocation that he has, but he can be called from time to time at a moment's notice. And the thing that he works at is way important than any of our content creation. So just put it that way. But I'm sure he'll be in touch with you to let you know and stuff like that.
Can I guess what he does?
You can if you like.
He's an Undertaker, is he?
No.
It was when it was when you were like, you know, can we call it in that moment?
No, well, I'm sure he won't mind me telling anyone anyway. He's a carer and he looks after people, kind of not elderly people, stuff that, but people in trouble. So,
that's great. Fair play to you, Kyle.
He's top guy, Henry. Top.
Shame you're an Arsenal fan.
Yeah. And actually, he said he might be able to jump on tonight. So if he shows up tonight, he's going to be talking with us a bit about Arsenal and stuff like that. So he may be able to show up tonight. If he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I never pressurise anyone to come on, bar you, Darren. Ian, what's the story, Morris? Henry, and it's Dazzler. It's Daz O'Clock. Get in there, you phenomenal looking fella. There you go. He's still convinced you're AJ Styles with about an extra 150.
Yeah.
I would say kilos. Yeah, he's convinced.
AJ, where's me soccer mom hairdo? I'm missing it. AJ with
it's on order.
Absolutely,
Big up,
Henry.
We must collab soon, mate. Absolutely. Yeah. And Daz is in as well. Dazzler, who's your pick for Wimbledon? Off-topic men's and women's. There you go, laying it down.
I'm gonna go Ons Jabeur on the lady side. Ons is a really, really good player. Grass kind of suits her because it's a quicker surface than the rest of them. She was Wimbledon finalist last year, if I'm right. She was beaten, I think, by Roy Bikina, But she's really good, really, really good player. And on the men's side, like, it's hard to see past Djokovic, if I'm honest. It'll be interesting to see how Alcaraz is after the injury at the French and stuff like that. But it's, Murray's kind of not there with the way the body is. Federer's obviously not going to be there, and Nadal's not going to be there. It's all set up for Djokovic to win number 24, if I'm honest. So that's probably how I'd be going. I'd probably be going Djokovic and Ons Jabeur.
When does it kick off?
I think it's Monday, isn't it?
Kicks off this Monday coming.
I think it's Monday, yeah.
Well, then what you're going to do for me now, I'm going to put you on the spot now that that's brought up. I want you to shoot a little video, and you can give me a little preview of Wimbledon, because I haven't watched it in a long time. I'm kind of out of touch. I have heard recently, though, a number of them are out injured and stuff and healing up and pulling out the tournaments.
It's you know what happens in the wrestling ring and in the football and on the football pitch. You come to a stage where a lot of players stop playing that you've been watching for the last 10, 15 years. And we're waiting on the next kind of wave of player to come through. Like, there's some great players, Casper Ruud, Holger Rune, Francis Tiafoe. Carlos Alcaraz is like as close to Rafael Nadal as Rafael Nadal is. This kid is unbelievable. Bumped into Djokovic in the semi-final at the French, and he got cramp in the third set and kind of it killed him off a little bit. This kid is probably going to be men's tennis for the next 10 years or so. Yannick Sinner, another good player. Lots of good players, but you're losing like possibly you're losing the top 3 men from the Grand Slam order of merit. Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic to have almost 70 slams between them is off the charts. And like Nadal and Federer are just about ready to hang it up, and Djokovic doesn't have too many years left, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah. Who's the guy? I can't remember his name. Is he Aussie or New Zealand? The mountain guy? Nick
Kyrgios.
Nick Kyrgios. Is he in it this year?
Possibly, if he's fit. Nick suffers quite a bit injury wise, No, not even. Well, he suffers with that. We all know he suffers with that.
No, I seen a documentary on him and he spoke about it and stuff like that, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Nick Kyrgios is, and I will argue with anybody on this, Nick Kyrgios is the most talented tennis player on God's green earth. Doesn't have a coach, doesn't practice. It's very kind of off the cuff, just comes out and plays. Like, the kid is, I call him a kid. He's not a kid, obviously. The guy is just phenomenal. He's one of the single most best things to ever happen to tennis, because you're not a huge tennis fan, but you know who Nick Kyrgios is.
Yeah.
I feel like that with the kids. Kyrgios wants to walk on court. He got a fine last year at Wimbledon.
Saying that, yeah.
Over the Jordan ones, and he's like, well, Jordan ones don't come in white, so I wear my red ones. And your man was like, you're gonna get a fine every time you wear them, and he went, all right. He's box office. And when Nick Kyrgios is on a court, everybody wants to tune in. He's kind of he's what I would call like the Happy Gilmore of tennis.
Hence the reason I'm asking you. I mean,
absolutely.
I don't follow tennis, but I know about that guy. So.
And lots of like traditional tennis fans would say, Kyrgios, like this. And I'm like, no, you're missing the point. Kids look at someone like Nick Kyrgios and go, I want to be like that guy. I want to be like that guy because he is that right. And for me as a coach, I'm like Nick Kyrgios all day long. The more of him that's on TV, the more kids see, and the more kids are going to come to a tennis club and pick up a racket and go, I want to be the next Nick. I want to be the next Nick Kyrgios. And that's when we're going to be in a real good place.
Yeah, we spent years cheering Ric Flair, didn't we? And he was a heel. So there you go.
Listen, absolutely. Whining and dining.
Can't argue with them, but they're giving me media coverage which Tony Khan never delivered me. It's good for a small channel like mine. No,
he's talking about Impact, obviously, yeah?
Yeah, don't worry, he's only rubbing you, Morris. Don't mind him. He tunes into Impact every week. Tony Khan is about to announce that he has bought Bellator. Really?
I mean, why not buy a second company that you can make shit of if you're not doing it with the first one bad enough?
Well, he's balancing out that WWE UFC situation there, is he?
So he's gonna have the minor league on both sides, like.
He's asked me, is Coyle a submarine technician? Good Lord.
Jesus Christ.
Good Lord, Morris. Good Lord.
That's even low for you, pal.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. That's not a problem if he's a carer. Yeah, absolutely. He's a top lad. Top lad. Where are we? Let's see. Where do we want to
give us a slide, Noel? Come on, give us a slide.
It's the week after next. Daz is signed for Wimbledon. I don't have any slides tonight. Tonight's going to be just a healthy chat. I didn't do any slides.
Lovely. You were busy, man.
There you go, Darren. A few Wimbledon shorts we'll be looking for. That's what we'll be looking for.
I'll go for that.
Opening championship fixtures and first round of Carabao Cup looks tasty.
Didn't see it. Who do we get? No, who do we get?
We don't go in at that stage, do we? Or do we go in straight away?
Say again.
Do we go in straight away, or do we have to wait a round or two? We go in straight away, don't we? Carabao.
You do. I think we missed a round because we're in Europe.
We're in Europe.
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the Europa League.
Oh yeah. Sorry, we're counting towards this. Go on.
Hey. As the host of this podcast, and you being my co-host, of course we count Thursdays. Thursdays is our big night on this channel. Have you got some eye drops, as you seem to have an irritation, Dazzler? Maybe get your eye checked out.
It's the what is it? Tell me what it is now. It's me hay fever.
That's it.
I do have eye drops. It's me allergies. I do have eye drops. I probably left them in my car, so I'll have to get them when I'm finished here.
Ted is in. I heard Chelsea are buying the winner of Wimbledon and then selling him to Al Nassr. We will be talking about that. Mark's
Novak, can you play on the left side of midfield? You were a little
tennis is not Mark's cup of tea. Darren will be disappointed, Mark. Darren's a tennis coach. Big up, Mark. How are you, Daz?
All good, Marky. Right. Thanks, pal.
We'll get back into the chat now in a minute. We're going to talk, right? So tonight we're going to talk Man United. We're going to have a bit of a brief discussion about Man United, which generally is never brief.
We are going to have a brief discussion about Man United because I've seen a couple of these, what are they called? The Morning Brew. I've seen a couple of the Morning Brew, and you seem to be going in quite hard on Man United.
I was actually only talking to someone yesterday about the channel and how when I put up a few Man United things, you tend to get a bit upset. So now I balance them out with a bit of pro wrestling. I spread the shorts out.
I saw a couple of Morning Brews this week, I think, and I thought, there he is, talking about the most important club in Merseyside again, Man United.
Well, you say I run a football channel. It's not a Liverpool channel.
Okay.
So you have to remember that as well, you know?
That's fair enough. You always seem to have really pleasant things to say about Liverpool, though. You don't seem to go in on them a whole lot, the way you do Man United. I might have to do it. I might have to do an opposite side of the shorts. And
you haven't been watching last week's Liverpool channel, Liverpool show that I did.
I definitely haven't. You're right.
There you go. Then you need to watch it. But let's start then. We'll talk Man United. Let's talk takeover. Where are you at with the takeover at the moment? What's going on? What's happening?
It's all seemed to have fizzled out a little bit at the minute, doesn't it? I suppose all roads were leading to Qatar last week, and this week things have gone a little bit flat. Now that could be because there's an announcement around the corner, or it could be because the Glazers are dragging their feet. It's very hard to know when you're not involved in the situation directly. I suppose there's been talk that Erik ten Hag might be a bit upset with how things are playing out and how they're affecting his transfer window. Again, very hard to say. We don't know any of this. This is all just speculation.
Conjecture.
It's all just speculation. And again, the one thing I will say about United is, hated and adored, but we're never ignored. And when people write about Man United, people sit up and listen. So we can at times be a little bit of an easy target because people know that United fans read stuff and they bite back. So people will put stuff out there in the universe and wait for a little nibble at times,
So now you've answered my question. This is the reason I make Man United content.
And I completely understand it. I completely understand it. So, listen, is it clever? Absolutely. Does it annoy me sometimes as a United fan? Absolutely.
I'm doing my job then.
There you go. So
remember, that's 7:30 in the morning. I'm only getting a cup of tea or a glass of coconut water into me at that stage.
When me missus wants to strangle whoever's on the latest episode of Coronation Street, I'm trying to remind her, he's doing a good job because he's an actor. And the fact that you want to go in and choke this guy, that means he's playing a really good part. Same way as a heel on one of our wrestling shows, you know.
Yeah,
if you want to get into that ring and choke Dominic Mysterio, it's because he's playing a damn fine part.
Talk to me before we move on from United. Talk to me about kind of targets and sort of incomings and outgoings. I mean, you'd strong opinions on Zidane Iqbal leaving the building for £1 million the other day to Utrecht, and Marcus Rashford obviously getting a new big deal, somewhere in the region of 350k a week, which I thought United was steering away from that stuff, and that's what the David De Gea problem was. So that was kind of weird. And then multiple bids in for Mason Mount and stuff like that. I can't believe clubs are willing to work so hard to sign this guy. It's crazy. But let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, so I suppose your issue is obviously somebody somewhere decided at one stage David De Gea was worth 350 grand a week. Like, I would struggle to see, and I don't mean David De Gea here, I mean any goalkeeper, because it doesn't tend to be, you know, one of those positions. Oh, Jesus.
Not
Really
a
giving it
tennis
to us,
fan.
isn't he? Not a tennis fan. Like, I would struggle to see where you would pay 350 bags a week for a goalkeeper. When the difference between a lot of goalkeepers isn't as big as the difference between like your top striker and your next. Does that make sense? I feel like goalkeepers, yes, there is a small clutch of goalkeepers who are right at the top of the world game. Like at the minute, you can't really look past the boy Thibaut Courtois has been phenomenal for Real Madrid. Your boy Alisson been unbelievable. Ederson as well been very, very good without being flashy. Lots of good goalkeepers there, but like 350 bags for a keeper is mental money, absolutely mental. I can understand how we would spend 350 grand on a Marcus Rashford as your franchise player, as your marquee player, as your homegrown player, which sends a massive message to your academy. Because for a lot of academies in the UK, they will look at guys in their first team structure and they will say, oh, well, okay, such and such a player is involved with the first team, but he's only on 40 grand a week. Now, listen, we're not arguing over 40 grand a week. My issue is if they're looking at, some of the bigger players at the club might be on 200 grand a week, but they haven't come from the academy. Whereas for United, I feel like giving a deal like that to somebody from the academy sends a message. If you are good enough, we will promote you to a level that can turn you into a global superstar.
Well, Mason Mount's the perfect example. He's on 80 grand, I think, at Chelsea.
Right. So
yeah, I get you.
Absolutely, 100%. Like obviously the Mount thing, I don't have a huge issue with Mount himself. I have an issue with the fee and with where we're going with the fee to a degree. The kid has a year left. If he wants to join Man United at this stage, I'd nearly be telling him, Mason, sit tight. Sit tight. We do the deal, end of next season. Sit tight, because there's no way we should be bending over for 50 to 60 million on a kid who's a good player, but has 12 months left on his contract. That's the bit that's getting me. I've no problem with the lad. I think he's going to bring a lot of stuff. I heard somebody talk earlier on, and I'm going to steal a couple of little comments from him. I don't know who the guy was. I just heard the soundbite, and it was something along the lines of, he's a cross between, Fred's energy and Eriksen's quality. And it's that type of a player. Eriksen's got the quality and he's got the imagination and he's got the creativity, but he absolutely lacks the physical of getting around the pitch, of covering ground, of putting miles in. Whereas Fred's the opposite. Fred is that kind of a robust, he's that legs, he's that engine in there in the middle, but he doesn't have the quality of an Eriksen. So you only either have one or the other on the pitch at the same time. If you have two, you then can't have your Bruno or your Casemiro. And I think Ten Hag is looking for somebody who can be as robust and as busy and as physical as Fred, but has a little more quality, can strike, can create. We know he's good from a set piece, corners and free kicks and stuff like that. He gives you another option. So I can understand it, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So we go from the heights of the Rashford deal and the message that sends to the academy. What does the Zidane one send to the academy then?
Yeah, it's a very strange one, I have to be honest. This kid was involved all season. He was involved in the first team. He probably didn't play the minutes he thought he might, considering how much he got on a bench or he was involved with the squad. I don't know if there's any sort of a buyback in the deal. I don't know how it's been put together. I heard very little of it, other than the fact he was leaving for a very, very meagre fee, which was
Million
£1
quid
million,
apparently.
right? Which, we're going to spend that on fucking bottles of water this year. So, do you know what I'm saying? That's absolutely nothing. That's chicken feed.
And he was pinned. And he was pinned to be the next breakout guy, wasn't he? Really?
And he was he was pinned to be a guy. Now listen, they've given a deal to the boy Kobe Mainu. Kobe got the award at the under-21 level, ahead of like Iqbal, ahead of like Charlie Savage. So, it's not a massive shock to me. We look at what happened last year with James Garner. We were told for years Garner's going to come in, he's going to sit deep, he's going to pass, he's going to do this. Garner went to Forest, did a good job, helped get Forest back in the league, and went to Everton. He was injured for a lot of time, didn't have an awful lot of activity this season with Everton through injury and form. So sometimes it just doesn't translate from where they are in an academy to where they go in a first team setup. But this has happened at United before, where we've sold a guy. You look at a guy who we've just let go for the second time by the looks of it, which is Tom Heaton. I know they're talking about there's a contract possibly going to happen, but Tom Heaton was a Man United player. We let Tom Heaton go. Tom Heaton went then to Aston Villa, to Burnley, to clubs like this, and made a really good name for himself and became an England international. And then what did we do? We brought him back. Now, again, we didn't pay for him. We brought him back. His contract was up. He'd had that injury at Villa, but we knew we were bringing him back. This can happen. This happens at a lot of big clubs where guy comes in, doesn't make the grade, goes down a level, pops back up 2 or 3 seasons time, and then all of a sudden, you've got a club looking to really go to town on him. Look at the boy Jeremy Frimpong, who we're now linked heavily with, the right back. He came out of Manchester City's academy. He left Manchester City's academy because he wasn't getting, the game time that he thought. He went to Celtic. He went from Celtic to Germany. Now he's one of the hottest right backs in European football. He's a name on everyone's lips, Jeremy Frimpong. And now someone's going to go and spend big money on it, be it Barcelona, be it us, be it Juventus, whoever spends big bucks on him. But he's had to come down out of the academy system and come back up the leagues,
Yeah, absolutely. I was about to suggest, and it's good timing, we were going to talk about Chelsea. Yeah, we were going to talk about Chelsea. You got the blue drink there and stuff like that.
There you go.
But I'm going to skip. We're going to talk about Arsenal, and I'm going to unleash the volcano from Wexford and the lava. My man, what is happening?
Not happy. Not happy. Not happy.
I know where he's going to come from tonight. First of all, we had that conversation before, and we've had you on about Arteta, and Darren has obviously often talked about supporting him and the plan and everything else and what's happening at Arsenal and stuff like that. We're going to have a chat about Arsenal tonight. We're going to have a chat about what this plan is and what's going on. I'm sure you're not happy. I have a few things to talk about tonight. First of all, we'll start. Kyle, you're on the show. I explained to Henry. Henry was saying you didn't get to his show earlier. I was explaining to him about your vocation, and sometimes it gets in the way.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it happens and stuff like that. But thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Good to have you back on again since the end of the season and all that. Right, let's start. Declan Rice, Kai Havertz. Talk to me.
Right. If you look at my YouTube channel, you see that I did a video about 4 weeks ago where we were heavily linked with Casado and Declan Rice. And in that video, sitting here in my sitting room, I say that Arsenal Football Club won't get either one of those players. Not a hope of getting any of them players. Here I am sitting here 4 weeks later. Where's the 2 players? I still see him lifting up the jersey. It's a shambles what's going on. We're embarrassing. We're an embarrassment. And I'm supposed to trust this process. We're in phase 3 now, phase 4, all this bullshit. It's ridiculous.
You'll be fully qualified soon, though, after phase 4, yeah?
What?
After phase 4, you'll have served your apprenticeship.
You'll be fully
I tell
qualified
you.
at that stage.
As far as I'm concerned, out the whole fucking lot of not good enough. Where's the standards? Where's the ambition? They're on about Declan Rice that we've been working on this for the last several weeks. Go and get him. Dilly and Darren. West Ham was 100 million. What we do? We're putting 75 million or 80 million or 85. Put the fucking money on the table and get the player. Stop all this bullshit. Because
I could
same or
feel-
the same.
Kyle,
And then we turn around and pay 65 million for Havertz. And then there's the fan base today is making them out to be the next Dennis Bergkamp. Are you joking me?
Did you hear that, Darren?
Embarrassing what's going
Did you
on.
hear that, Darren?
I would worry massively about anybody who thinks Kai Havertz could even lace Dennis Bergkamp's fucking boots.
This and
That
Kyle
is-
will tell you, this was a number of Arsenal fans. This one wasn't a single situation.
God.
This was quite a few.
I swear to
shocking.
God, Daz, I'm not messing with you, mate. You should see the fan base. He's every bit as good as Dennis Bergkamp they're trying to say. This is the PR that this club has. Dennis Bergkamp.
Fucking hell.
Jesus Christ. There's one thing listening to fan base talking and saying that Odegaard is every bit as good as him. But they're coming out now saying that Havertz is as good as him. Are you joking me? It's embarrassing. This is absolutely scandalous what's going on at this club. And I'm supposed to fucking trust this fucking Arteta and he doing Gary Kane and all, Tim Lewis and all these lads. They wouldn't run a Sunday dinner. Never mind a football club.
Couldn't even get the jersey right.
Couldn't even get
Couldn't
the
even
jersey.
get the
And
jersey
they
right.
even put the gold stripes and the record of the Invincibles.
the
And they can't
jersey
even get that right. The Invincibles.
When
Are
I
you
read-
joking me?
When I
Imagine
read
what-
that they
imagine-
fucked up the jersey, I went, what?
Yeah.
Like, surely, if I want to put a Facebook post up for my job, I read it. I read it a second time, and then I pass it to someone else, and then they read it, and then they read it a second time, and then we might even go to a third person to make sure that all the T's and all the I's, and this is only a Facebook post. This is nothing major. We're not talking AGMs, nothing like this, right? And then I look at one of the biggest footballs in the club, one of the biggest football clubs in the world, in Arsenal, and I find out that the player's jersey, the tech fit jersey of the new jersey, only has 32 results on it. I said, lads, hold on a minute. There's something fucking wrong here. This isn't a small thing. That's huge. And the disrespect that does to those Invincibles who went out and broke their absolute back for that club, by the way. And there's a lot of lads there at Arsenal now, couldn't lace the boots of those boys. For anyone to mention, and I'm not an Arsenal fan, but that's annoyed me, for anyone to mention Kai Havertz's name in the same fucking book, never mind sentence or paragraph, as Dennis Bergkamp, is a barefaced fucking neck. That's what they have. That's unbelievable.
Do you know, Kyle, do you know what annoyed me more about the Kai Havertz situation?
My God.
One, first of all, I don't know what they want him for and what he brings and where he's going to go and what the plan is. They must have a plan for him. But two, you've literally gone and nearly funded the Caicedo deal for Chelsea, which is just crazy.
Let me explain this to you. Here's the plan of action. You ready? You ready now? Daz will be interested in this now.
Will I put the seatbelt on? Do I need the seatbelt for this one?
Strap yourself in.
Darren. Here we go.
I've got the cushion on my lap already.
In the position that Xhaka has been in. And we're shipping Xhaka off to Germany. That's a done deal. He's out of there.
Well, he was going to Leverkusen anyway, wasn't he? We knew that for about 15 million, right?
Yeah. And Havertz coming in, starting there. I have a 13-year-old daughter that would break Havertz up with a challenge in midfield.
And you know what the mad thing is? I do not doubt that for 1 minute either, by the way.
Guys, you listen to this, man. Listen to this. What? Like, we're on it. Did you see what we're doing? Did you see the latest there in the last half an hour or so about Thomas Partey? 20 million is that being put on the table from Inter Milan or something like that. And Arsenal say that we might agree to that. 20 million for Thomas Partey. So what's the mid fee?
They'll never cough up Party for 20 million. Never. I
Why
think
don't-
yesterday the talk was Saudi Arabia for about 50, right? And even at 50, what did you guys pay for him? Did you guys pay 35 to 40?
I think it was 40 million.
Yeah, I think it was 35 to 40. So at 50, I was going, do you know what? They're doing okay out of it, but they're not making what they could, because don't get me wrong here, Party's a baller.
Yeah.
Every game Party played last season, you guys were in the mix. And when he didn't play, you looked
That's
an
when they dropped
inferior
off.
team.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. The
Yeah.
one thing I couldn't even agree with Niall anymore if I tried. That like the first thing was, and I spoke to our friend David, who's regularly on in the chat and stuff like that, and David was saying, I don't think it's a bad deal. And I said, David, hold on a minute, pal. I said, just before we have the conversation, I said, just tell me what he is. I said, tell me what he is. Is he a 9? No. Is he a 10? Possibly. Is he a 10 that's getting in ahead of Odegaard? Absolutely not. Is he a 7 or 11 where he's going to play wide in the wing? I don't think he is. So now you've got, let me just count these up. You've got Smith Rowe, you've got Martinelli, you've got Saka, you've got Vieira, you've got Odegaard, you've got Jesus, you've got Eddie Nketiah. You've 7 players, you've got Leandro Trossard, you've got 8 players. You still don't have a number fucking 9, and you're going to drop nearly 70 bags on a guy who does exactly what the other 8 do.
Yeah.
Lads, stop the
100%
fucking
lads.
lights. And what Niall has said is the really important part of this. They've just funded the Caicedo deal for Chelsea.
Absolutely. Niall, 100%. But he's wages. He's on 200. They're on about 210,000 a week. By the end of the whole thing, it's going to cost us over 100 million. Why not get that 100 million and get the sale? Why not get that 100 million and get Declan Rice in? Why do we need Havertz at the club? What's he bringing to the club?
Do you know what it is, Kyle? The only thing I assumed when I seen it is someone in that frontal kind of area about to exit the building that no one knew about. That's what I was thinking when
They're
I
on
seen
about
it.
Eddie Nketiah at night. They're open to conversations for Eddie Nketiah. And that's what I'm at hearing, and I hope it's the truth. And I hope Eddie Nketiah fucks off.
But then that means, but if it's Eddie to go, sorry, to cut across you. If it's Eddie leaves the building, that means Havertz is coming in as a 9. Now, there is fucking Bob Hope and no hope of you winning anything with Kai Havertz as your 9. And the reason I can tell you that is Chelsea just tried it and couldn't get a fucking European spot. Now, yes, the whole Chelsea team was on their knees, and Arsenal are in a much better position than Chelsea were. I don't doubt that. But Kai Havertz, good footballer. Absolutely, he's a good footballer. He's a 40 to 50 million pound footballer. He's a guy that would do really well at a Newcastle. He's a guy who would do really well at an Aston Villa. He doesn't get a start in the Arsenal team right now. And if you're paying 70 million a week and you're not upgrading the starting 11 at Arsenal, it's a huge mistake. Huge.
Well, I think as Kyle said, if Xhaka's exiting the building and he's that replacement,
and he's going to play in centre midfield.
But hang on. I'm going to make
now
this
you're in fucking real trouble here.
I'm going to make this even better for you, because you've got Xhaka exiting the building, and suppose Partey gets injured, you're staring down a midfield then of Jorginho, Havertz, and Odegaard.
I would have put the 3 of them on the local soccer team up here.
It's a very, very strange one. Now, look, we could come back after the first 5 games and go, this was a masterclass by Arteta.
No, not after 5 games. Not after 5 games. We don't judge anyone after 5 games.
No, but 5 games will paint the picture.
5 games won't paint the picture. It absolutely won't. And it never does paint the picture. Like, you need way more than 5 games.
No, but I'm not saying it stops after 5 games, but I'm saying if we can see what the thinking was after 5 games, then it might be different.
But he could come in and score 15 goals in the first 5 games and be dog shit for the other 33. It doesn't mean he had a good season.
I'll give you a patent. I
I
don't need 5 games for a patent. I'll give you a patent right now. We're fucked. That's the patent. Not good.
Niall mentioned earlier on, I think it might have been earlier on, Niall, or if it wasn't earlier on, it was certainly yesterday. And Niall made a great point. And obviously there's areas amongst the squad that, things need to be bettered. And if you look at somebody like a Moises Caicedo, he comes in, he does a huge job in that midfield for you. But if you've got any defensive issues, he allows Ben White to drop into the centre-back role and he goes and plays right back, which he did against us and you guys at the end of last season and was unbelievable in it. Unbelievable as a right back, the boy Caicedo was. And that's only his secondary position, so to speak. That's where you're under pressure. The squad is starting to thin out. You've obviously got to push Ben White inside, which I think is his better position anyway. And then you end up with Caicedo there. And now you're going to end up with Kai Havertz, who can't play centre midfield and can't play fucking right back. And you're still 70 bags out of your pocket. Man alive.
Don't make sense.
Big up, Jade. Thanks for joining us tonight.
We're in serious bother, lads. Listen, we're not going to be no league titles next year. We're not going to compete for the Champions League next year. Next season, washouts. I'm telling you. Hasn't even started, I'm telling you. And I predicted. I said we won't get Caicedo and we won't get Rice. Man City will go in there, put the money on the table. Declan Rice will say, yeah, I'm out to Man City. Good luck. You couldn't blame him.
Is there a situation, Kyle, if that happens, that you can go in and rescue the Caicedo situation? Because you've done a lot of legwork there on that boy.
He wants to go to Chelsea. No, he don't want to go to Arsenal. He's happy to tell you. He says he doesn't want to come to us. He wants to go to Chelsea. He's gone.
Because you put all your eggs in the rice basket.
Into the rice basket.
Yeah.
And now that's not the backfiring on us. So now we're totally fucked.
And then Rice will head off to City. And then you've two of your targets off the table. But it's okay because you've got Kai Havertz and you've less money than when you started.
Yeah.
Man alive.
That's what I'm saying to you, stats. It don't make sense. And then people are telling me to trust the process. That the club is on the, it's on the way up. It's not on the way up. This club of mine is fucked for the last 25 years. When are people going to start waking up to this? We're going nowhere fast. It's embarrassing what's going on.
I've got to say, I thought Arsenal were in a really positive position at the end of last season. I know you guys didn't win the league, but I thought with where you finished, second was a great season for you guys. And I think if anyone had have offered you second at the start of the season, you'd have taken their hand off it. Let's be honest. Okay, because you led and the way you led and stuff like that, it did deflate you guys. But, in the cold light of day, second place is a good finish, Kyle. I expected you guys to go and make the signings you needed to make. Go and fill those positions. The way, let's say, Klopp did at Liverpool when Liverpool finished second to City. The way they went then and they made a couple of signings to shore up that starting 11 or to make the bench a little bit better so that the next season you were just that 10% better, which would get you over the line. I don't see you getting that 10% with signings from, the likes of Kai Havertz. I have to be honest.
No, yeah.
And especially when you take out guys, because for you to get an extra 10%, you got to maintain what you have. If you're losing a guy like Granit Xhaka, who I'm not a personal fan of, and I know lots of Arsenal fans aren't, but last season he was right up there with your top performers, right up there. He was very, very good. And if you take him out, you then have to replace him. And if you don't replace him, you drop a level. Now, if you drop a level, that becomes difficult. You got to make it up somewhere else in the pitch. You got to get a striker that can score you 10 or 15 more goals to balance the fact you don't have a Granit Xhaka doing the work in the midfield. I think the Havertz deal, and listen, you can clip this, you can play it whenever you want. If he puts a hat-trick past United and you beat us 5-0, clip it, show me it again. I still don't think over 38 games or 48 games with your cup games next season, Kai Havertz is going to be anywhere near a £70 million player at Arsenal. I just do not see it.
One swallow can make a summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No. I think the thing about it as well, and it was like, I spoke about this a couple of times on the Morning Brew as well. Check it out every morning around 8 o'clock, 7:30 it goes up. But I did speak about the urgency of Arsenal needing to get Rice done before the Ilkay Gundogan decision was made in terms of going to Barcelona, because we knew if he exited the building, the thing that Man City do the best is they actually go out and they reinforce and they improve and they get better and stuff like that, And Ilkay Gundogan's a huge player as well.
But Rice wasn't. Rice isn't going to be the Rice. That's not going to be Rice. That's Kovacic. Kovacic was done to allow Gundogan to move. But imagine, and this is what we said with Kyle. Imagine City last season got to a level, right? And then you put a Declan Rice in for 5% more, just a little bit more. Yeah, just that little bit more drive, just that little bit more box to box, the energy, everything like that. The same way the season before they won a league title, right? And what did they do? They took out their false nine and they went and got themselves a striker. Elevate all the time, elevate, looking for the next. And this is one of your massive criticisms, Niall, of Liverpool. And when you guys were in a position, you know, to go and make those signings,
no evolution
nothing.
at all. Yeah.
We were winning trophies under Sir Alex, and the one thing he always did was he looked at the clubs that were getting close to where our level was, right? And other than say Liverpool, he would look and say, "Can I get someone out of there?" He'd go to Arsenal and get a Van Persie. You know, he'd go to Leeds and get a Cantona. He'd go to Aston Villa and get a Dwight York. He went to Newcastle and got an Andy Cole. He stripped clubs and teams of their players in order to further his own team and take that little bit out of their side. And it was really, really clever. And City now are doing this all the time. City are a fucking masterclass in the window. And I don't like saying that, because not only they're now masters on the pitch, but they're run, you know, and their transfer policies and how I know people are going to come in now and say, yeah, but there's 115 charges. There's nothing done yet, lads. When it's done, we'll talk about it. Until it's done, it's all just hyperbole. But what, value, right? Yeah, but what they do is, and what they do really, really well is they level up. They level up. I have a guy like, you know, somebody playing in a certain position. Okay, he's leaving. What's the next stage I can get to? I want a Declan Rice. I want this guy. I want that guy. You know, never happy with just being good, striving for greatness. And that's what a lot of our clubs, my club, Niall's club, and Kyle's club, have forgot about. That strive for greatness. Not that strive for mediocrity and top 4 finish. Well done, lads. Pats on the back. If we all turn to the left, we can all give ourselves a pat on the back for finishing in fucking 4th place. 4th fucking place.
Well, as I said, as I said to you before, lads, we won the league and we won the Champions League, and on both those following windows, we spent the least. So just goes to show you.
That's the thing here. Like, let's get things in full perspective here. Man City just won the treble.
Yep.
And there they are now going to get Declan Rice. And it's like what Dad said there earlier. We came second. And we know what we need to try to get us over the line to become number 1. And we're not able to do it. And we haven't been doing it for years. And yeah, we did finish second. And if someone was said to me at the beginning of the year, yeah, I would talk, yeah. We laid this table, this Premier League, this season, 248 days we were number 1. Then in the last 6 weeks, we blew us. We absolutely blew us. Shot on ourselves. And the so-called top players that we all talk about, except I won't because I think they're shite. Odegaard, Mr. Captain Fantastic. Where was he for the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season when it mattered? Nowhere to be seen. Where was Wonder Kid? Saka? Nowhere to be seen. Where was Martinelli? Nowhere to be seen. Where was Jesus? Nowhere to be seen. Things that not good enough.
I think what happened there, Kyle, more so than anything, I think those boys, because they played most minutes every week and stuff like that, and because they're riding the crest of that wave of expectation of trying to get over the line and win a league, with Man City hunting you down and stuff like that, I think the boys just simply gassed out. I think they just ran out of gas and that was it. They hit a wall and they couldn't come back from it. And I think that's it. I mean, you have to remember, Kyle, if you look at Martin Odegaard, and like I've been a big proponent of Odegaard and stuff like that, whether you like him or you don't like him or you think he's good enough to be a captain or not be a captain, he was one of the best midfielders in the league last season.
Yeah, but when it mattered, like, he was nowhere to be seen.
But you know, Kyle, yourself, it's like a boxing match. When you get to the 8th or 9th round and you gas out and you don't have that, those last 3 or 4 rounds, you want your legs, you know what you want to do, but you can't physically do it. And it's happened. Look at how many times, how many seasons has it happened with Saka now, where with the last 8 or 9 games, bang, hits the wall because he's played into the ground. Absolutely into the ground.
Well, can I ask yourself and Daz a question now? A genuine question. I'll be very interested to hear what the two of you have to say about this. Maybe I'm completely wrong. And you will put me right here. So I'm going to put this out there. I actually believe that all this tired talk about professional footballers is all excuses. And the reason why I say that is because these lads are multi-millionaires 100 times over. They're retired at the age of 35, even before that, off living lifestyles that three of us could only dream of, can't even dream of. Now I have to get out of my bed and I have to do 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week. I have to take care of the bills. I have to make sure that the daughter is well and go to educated and fed. And like yourselves, you have family there, you're doing the same. You have to get up every morning, you have to go to your work. Now, can I turn around and say to you there in about 3 weeks' time, Jesus, lads, I'm at doing 15, 12-hour shifts there. I'm tired, I'm going to stay in bed. We're getting paid pittance by the minutes. We're not millionaires. We have to get up and we have to do it day in, day out, sacrifice, dedicate ourselves. That's what we have to do. These lads are playing one fucking game a week at Arsenal Football Club. And we're saying that they're gassed out, that they're tired, they're this, they're that. I have no fucking pity on any of them. They're all multi-millionaires.
I would
23 years of age. Jesus
I would have
Christ,
I would have a massive issue with anyone saying that Arsenal gassed themselves out of a title.
No, I wasn't coming saying that they gassed themselves out of the title. What I'm saying is, once City got right into that position where they were, Arsenal just struggled. Those players at times looked like they were jogging in the mud.
Yeah, but that wasn't Arsenal's problem. Arsenal's problem was...
I'm not saying that was Arsenal's problem, but what I'm saying is, if you look at the level of the amount of, where there's no alternative, similar to ourselves. If you look at it, this is really a bench issue more than that. And if you look at the bench, there's just that alternative is not there to take a player out and bring a player in.
You don't need a bench if the lads on the pitch do the fucking job either.
Well, you can't win a title with just 11 players.
I would have said you won a title with about fucking 13.
17.
Right? So Arsenal had at least 17 that they could count on. Arsenal's biggest issue was, and I have to call this. Arsenal's biggest issues were they didn't put the blinkers on and look at the finish line. The boys every week stopped and looked over their fucking shoulder, and they stopped enough for City to go by them. They didn't put their foot down. They didn't keep playing the way they were playing. They pulled up and they bottled it. That's all it was. It's nothing to do with them gassing. It's nothing to do with games, fucking miles in the legs. If guys don't turn up on occasions, it's because they don't have the bollocks to do it. It's not because they're tired. Because I have to be honest, I would agree with Kyle wholeheartedly there. These lads have fellas wiping their fucking arse from 9 o'clock Monday morning till fucking 12 o'clock Sunday evening. They've drivers, they've people fucking dressing them. They've chefs in their houses. They've fucking masseuses. They have the best of everything. And there's not one of them hang on for a second, there's not one of them feels the way you do right now after your driveway. The way I do after fucking being out on a tennis court all day. The way Kyle does after going out. But we still get up and we still go ahead.
No, but we don't operate in the same circle that they operate from a mental pressure point of view and stuff like that.
Hold on.
Hang a minute. Now, wait for a minute. Hang on a minute.
Paying bills and educating children and all of this isn't a mental challenge at times.
About that. Of course, it's a mental challenge, yeah. But you're talking about these boys. These boys never get any downtime. They can never walk away from that. They're always hounded by the press. They always have stuff to do.
What do you mean that they've no downtime? They're either on the fucking golf course or getting their poxy haircuts.
On what golf course are getting their haircuts?
Niall, how many footballers do you follow on social media?
Darren, know well that's not the case.
Niall,
that's not the case.
How many footballers do you follow on social media? If they're not on a golf course, they're getting their fucking haircut. If they're not getting their haircut, they're in a fancy fucking restaurant. If they're not there, they're on a fucking holiday or a quick little trip here and
all that changes the pressure of having to perform at a certain level week in, week out.
That's not pressure, Niall.
And the fact that you're getting paid $250,000 a week, adds to the pressure.
So remember, if you're absolute dog shit from fucking the 1st of January till the 31st of December as a footballer, guess what? You're still getting 250 bags a week. So that's not pressure at all.
But
That's fucking no pressure.
They're not.
There's no pressure in that at all.
No, they're not operating. I'm not talking about the pressure of having to pay a bill or go out and
No,
do
neither
your
am I.
food shop or anything like that.
But I'm telling you, they're not under pressure. They're not under pressure.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
They're not under pressure.
That's a ridiculous statement to turn around
what
and say.
are they? What are they under pressure?
At that level is not under pressure. When they're walking out that tunnel in a Champions League final or an FA Cup final or chasing down a title.
Who are they under pressure? Who are they under pressure from?
Themselves.
They
create the pressure within their own bubble. Why do you think Saka falls off every season?
Because mentally he's not able for it.
Is that not what I've just said? And you just said
absolutely not what you've just said. I didn't say there was no mental pressure. I didn't say. You said there was the massive amount of pressure on them, and now you're saying it's the pressure they put on themselves. So I can choose not to put fucking pressure on myself. Yeah.
Well, you can if you know how to control it. But
now, are you telling me a guy on 250 bags a week can't get someone to fucking teach him that?
Why are we still talking about money? Why is money the factor here?
Money solves a huge amount of those issues.
No, money brings its own pressures.
A huge amount of those issues.
Own pressures. That's a ridiculous statement.
At all.
Money brings its own pressures.
Not at all.
So are you telling me?
How many footballers?
How many
footballers do you know? How many footballers do you know got sacked from the pressure they were under? A lot of fucking managers got the chop. But the boys got the chop.
But how many players get?
They're all under real pressure.
How many players get dropped from the pressure that they're under?
You know, they're dropped and they're sitting on the bench. Guess what? They're still getting their 250 bags. So most of them couldn't give a Highlanders.
That's totally nothing to do with it.
Of course it is.
So
if my performance was related to my money, and if I only got 250 bags a week when I played, now I'm under pressure. If I play and I get my money, but if I sit in the bench all of a sudden I'm on 50 grand a week, now you've got a little bit of pressure. But as a footballer, I don't have that because every week that's there. Look, that money, it's there every week. See all this money? It's all there.
These guys are all multi-millionaires. It doesn't matter if this week's 250 grand is going into the account.
It doesn't because it's gone there for so long.
Well, here's an example for you. Are you telling me that the pressure that Conor McGregor was under when he was trying to break into fighting is the same pressure he now feels now as a multi-millionaire? Are you crazy? Look at what's happened to that.
Conor McGregor and a footballer are two completely different issues.
No, we're talking about athletes. No. We're not.
Footballers and fighters are completely different. Completely different. Because as a fighter, as you know, if I want to get a share of a purse, I need to win a fight. Because the loser share is always going to be fucking smaller.
Not at his level. He gets paid.
Guys don't have great careers with 20 and 30 losses on their fucking head.
He earns more money off the paper.
You're not listening, man.
You're talking nonsense.
Because he got to a level.
Yeah.
But to get to that level, he had to win.
Yeah.
Right? And when he got to the level, and the money was a guarantee.
So all those fights in the UFC to get to that level, to get to those belt fights, you think he wasn't walking out and didn't feel the pressure? You think Bukayo Saka, when he's walking out of the tunnel,
McGregor had no guarantee. Saka has a guarantee.
He does have a guarantee. You're not fighting. The purse is only such a small part of what they get paid. You're talking about Bukayo
not
Saka.
when McGregor. You're misunderstanding.
Absolute nonsense.
When McGregor starts off and he's Joe Soap from fucking Drimner or wherever the fuck he's from this week, right? He has pressure because if he doesn't have a certain amount of wins, he doesn't get to the UFC. So he never sees that money at all. That's pressure. Saka's at a level now at Arsenal and other players, Odegaard, and guys at Liverpool and guys at United. When Marcus Rashford was fucking dog shit, not this season, but last season, still went home to his fucking paycheck every week. Right?
I don't think once you arrive at that point, I don't think Saka is walking out of the tunnel to face Man City last season in the league or whatever it was, and he's walking out going, I don't mind how I perform at the moment. I'm under no pressure because my 250 bags is in the bank. That's absolute nonsense.
There's no pressure on the lad at all.
Of course there's pressure. What happened to that lad
from
this
who?
season? The minute he didn't perform, he got racially abused, he got tore up on social media and all those kind of things. What do you mean there's no pressure from him? He missed a penalty. He missed a penalty and he was fucking lambasted on social media and everything.
But that's not pressure. People can go on and talk about people on social media tomorrow.
So
I can go onto social media tomorrow and
but
level
you're not
you
the same
no,
reach.
No, you're not even let me finish.
Reach.
You're not even let me finish. Will you listen? Yeah? If I go onto social media tomorrow and I absolutely lambaste you for missing a penalty, regardless of whether I have 100 followers or fucking 100 million followers, it doesn't actually have a huge impact on you. It doesn't.
If you're racially abused.
Did I say racially abused?
Well, this is what happened to him
when
he didn't perform.
I'm asking you a question. Did I say racially abused?
No, you didn't, but I
did.
Okay,
I didn't. So will you listen to what I said then? Yeah?
But you're not comparing the situation. You're talking about, you're turning around and saying, because players are financially set and because they're comfortable and because that 250 grand is going to be in the bank each
week. There is no pressure anymore. The pressure's not there.
Okay.
The pressure is not there anymore.
Okay. Rodri goes out, he's paid 250 grand, 300 grand a week, whatever he's paid, okay?
Yeah.
Goes out every week and performs. Do you think that guy walks out of the tunnel and doesn't set a bar for him to perform and puts himself under mental to go out there and make that happen?
But that's you as a person. That's not pressure coming from exterior parts. That's not the pressure of waking up in the morning and not being able to pay the bill, or the bailiffs coming to the door because you haven't paid this or that, or taking your car, or your kids not eating. But this is my point. That's real pressure.
That's a different pressure.
But these guys, that's not fucking pressure. That's a privilege, not pressure, Niall. That's a privilege. It's an absolute privilege. It's a privilege to pull on a Liverpool football jersey, to pull on a fucking Arsenal jersey, to pull on a Manchester United jersey. It's privilege. It's not pressure.
No, it's privilege. No, it's privilege when it starts. Privilege. It's not privilege then when you're in there in the moment.
No, you've got it wrong. You've got it completely wrong.
How is it wrong?
To begin with, it's pressure because you have to get there. But when you get there, it's privilege. And it's absolute privilege to wear that jersey.
So once you go from being, say, because we're talking to Kyle about Arsenal, you go from Arsenal, who's been...
Well, once you go from Saka in the academy to Saka in the fucking first team, there's a massive difference.
And you think...
Massive.
And you don't think
because all of a sudden,
there's a different level of pressure
you've made it.
Through.
Say that again?
And you don't think there's a different pressure that comes through then that these young lads have to deal with, regardless of how much they get paid?
It's not pressure. That's my point. Maybe you're using a bad word to describe it. It's not pressure. It's not. People are down and fucking out in this country and all over the world with real pressures. Playing fucking football is a privilege, not a pressure.
It's not the same thing. I'm not talking about someone who's getting sleepless nights because they can't pay their mortgage or they have to feed their kids. Like I'm talking about other people. I'm talking about sports lads at the elite level. Why do they hire?
Privilege.
Why do they hire mental coaches?
To keep them in the right frame of mind.
Okay, so when they fall out of the right frame,
but do they hire mental coaches to keep them in the right frame of mind when they can't pay a bill? No, because they can't fucking do it. Yeah, this is my point. They're privileged, Niall. They're giant fucking babies. Madness. They're only short of wearing romper suits around the place, man. Will you stop?
Listen, we'll agree to disagree because we've plenty more to one here.
It's a privilege.
If you think that young lads, because they're on 250 grand a week, don't feel the pressure of the mental health situation of going on the pitch, that's madness. That is a madness thing to say.
Kyle, do you think the lads at Arsenal really, really, really feel pressure when they're getting their paycheck?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say, big up to the two of you. It's great to see a little argument going on, a discussion.
Why are we arguing about Arsenal when he's on, anyway?
I think it's good. But I'm going to throw a spanner in the works. And here's what I'm going to say.
I'm the baby volcano now, am we?
What I'm going to say is this. Niall, I know you're a family man, and I know what you do as a living. Daz, I know you're also a family man. I saw the wedding ring there on your finger just there a minute ago.
Yeah.
And
it's nice to see you calm.
And I know you're a family man and you have to work as well.
Absolutely.
I just want to say this. I want to use this as an example and then we'll move on. You speak about pressure. I tell you pressure. I'll give you just a little insight. I just worked the last 8 weeks, 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week, to build a relationship with a little 9-year-old boy. I'm not going to go into much detail because I can't. But he came from a house, and I'll just put it this way to you. I would describe it as a house of horrors. I did what I had to do professionally, dedicated my stuff, my energy, my life. It has affected my own life, my own personal life, because you cannot walk out of that place and not bring it home with you. It comes home with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's with me, where on my days off, I'm thinking about this situation. So, in our lovely country of ours that I always talk about, last Friday, a car pulled up where I work. 2 people that's higher than me walked in, got this boy, and told that boy to say goodbye to me. And brought him back to the House of Horrors because there was no rest for him to go. It has hugely affected me since Friday, and it's out of my hands. That's pressure. Not putting on the top, going out, playing football in front of 70,000 fans, calling your name, singing your name. You're a hero, a false hero, by the way. And you're going home to a mansion, to a supermodel of a wife, and you're getting everything done for you. Chefs making your dinner. And yes, I understand you get abuse when you don't perform. That's part and parcel of it. But it's nothing towards the abuse that I've seen over my career. And trust me, I would rather get racially abused by my whole country than one day of what I have to deal with in my daily job. And you just have to put things in perspective. These lads are multi-millionaires. And believe you me, with one of Saka's waste packs, 1 week of Saka's waste pack, Niall and Daz and me, we'd have to still work, but by Jesus, and make our lives a quite lot better. Our mortgages would be cleared straight away, and you could educate your children in the best of colleges in the country. And that's all I have to say about it. I just think it's great to have the passion. It's great because it releases you from reality to follow a football club. And we are passionate fans. And it's great. You need that in our lives. That's what they're there for entertainment. Because we all need it as human beings. But let's not get carried away. These lads have a lifestyle, lads, that we can't even dream of. And, you know, if I was out there playing football at a high level and I was on 200,000 a week and my team got based on a Saturday, yeah, I would. No, you're right. I would put a certain standard on myself, man, as a performer. Yes, I would. I put myself under that pressure because I'd be thinking that my family and my friends will be watching, and I do it for them. But if my team got based, would I go home and cry about it? Nah. I still have my 200,000 in my bank account. That's just my outtake on it. I'm not saying any is wrong or right here, but that's just my personal opinion about it.
And that's fair enough. Fair enough. And that's if that's your take on it, then that's your take on it. But I mean, it's it just wouldn't be mine. I'd have a different opinion, and that's fine. So
I think what Kyle is saying there, and you know, just to tie in with it, you have a certain way of doing things, right? And you never let your level slip. You pride yourself on your level. Now, I do that. Kyle does that. So as a footballer going out onto a pitch, would we set ourselves a level? Absolutely. As a professional and as a person, we would. But when we don't reach those levels, the consequences aren't the same for everyday Joe Soaps as guys that are playing in stadiums with 50 and 60,000 with that type of freight in their pocket. That's all. You know, but would they? Absolutely. Does Does, Rodri, does Saka, does Rashford, do they set themselves targets, goals, levels to achieve? Set the bar and say, I want to be there. Of course they do. Of course they do. But I just think things are measured a lot differently because of how the background plays out,
But we knew in the run-in from the Arsenal players, some of the interviews Kyle they gave, Ramsdale and stuff like that, we could feel through those interviews that it was becoming mentally taxing on them, trying to either stay ahead of City or kind of catch up with City or fend off City, whatever way you want to look at it and stuff like that. And I said on a podcast, Kyle, you would have been on with me that night when Arsenal, I think, were 8 points ahead with a chance to go 11 points ahead. I did say Arsenal were still hunting City at the time. That's the point I made, and people were shocked at that, and I said that was the case. But you could listen to some of those interviews from those boys back in that time. Martin Odegaard, I think, did an interview. Ramsdale did an interview. There was a few of them and stuff like that. I think Xhaka did one as well. And, you could see it in them that they were mentally struggling in terms of trying to, that pressure of trying to keep Man City at bay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that pressure is the same as someone who's about to leave their house
or
Kyle, what you see day on day in your job. That's a very, very different situation. But, pressure and mental affecting and stuff like that. But you remember this, Kyle, what you went through there, and you spoke about that young lad there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you went home, that affected you when you went home. You're constantly thinking about it. So that affects your performance then at home. You talk about we still have to put out the bins and stuff like that. So if your job is to put out the bin at 8 o'clock and you're getting affected by that and you go, Shagger, I'll put the bin out at 11. That's all right in our life for that to happen, because if the bin goes out at 7 or 11, it doesn't really matter. But when those guys rock up to play 90 minutes or have to perform at a certain time frame, they can't pay that off. That's when they have to perform. They don't have an option. There's no get out of jail free card here. And that's not a financial thing I'm talking about.
Yeah, but we also have to perform in our jobs, and we can't choose the time when we do that either.
Yes, no,
so
but what I'm talking
about,
but I'm talking about, Kyle mentioned it earlier. I'm talking about the knock-on effect of the other stuff we have to do.
And I get it, but what I'm saying is, like, you're saying we bring the bin out at 8 or we bring it out at 11. Yeah. Well, yeah, but don't forget, the boys don't bring their own fucking bin out. So that's another thing off the list that they don't have to fucking...
I know, but what I'm talking about, there is still other things in their life that they have to do that we don't have to do.
Of course there is, but there's very fucking little.
Listen, I'm not saying I wouldn't have their life for my life or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about here. But I'm still...
There's very little. These lads live a massively
But how many times have you seen young football players getting huge contracts and stuff like that and falling by the wayside, becoming nothing and totally losing it?
But why? Why?
Because they can't handle it.
No, it's not because they can't handle it. It's because they don't need to do that now because the contract's in the bag.
No, but it's not that. I'm not talking about them losing it as in... I'm talking about them actually physically losing it because they can't handle the pressure of what's happening. How many times have we turned around and said...
What happens there is, though, a kid who hasn't had a whole lot ends up with a whole lot of money in his bank and doesn't know what to do with it and falls down the rabbit holes of doing A, doing B, doing C, doing D. That's not pressure, Again, that money's a privilege.
It's pressure to hold your life together, isn't it? It's pressure to hold your life together.
That for me is an issue with clubs, where clubs aren't educating players well enough to understand where the pitfalls are. Like, as much as
but the net effect is still on the player. The actual net effect is because the result comes out in the reaction, and the result is within the player. Like, how many clubs turn around? Like, look at what happened. Darren, take for example, Jadon Sancho this season had to go off for 3 months. They said he was working on fitness and stuff like that. I'm sure he was, and that's all well and good. But most people know he was also working on some mental stuff as well at the time. That was out there, okay? So we know that happened. That's a guy who was getting paid 300 grand a week or whatever it was, came in, huge expectation on the boy coming in from the Bundesliga. He was an absolute star in the Bundesliga, came into the Man United side. The expectation was he was going to be a huge star in there and perform at a certain level.
Yeah, but would you say... Yeah, but would you say that was the rule or an exception to the rule? Because I can't tell you at United too many players that have had to go off for a sabbatical for the ball.
No, but what I'm saying is you can see that it happens. So what I'm saying is that pressure exists regardless
it's minority. It's
Yeah, but
minority.
what I'm saying is the pressure still exists regardless of whether you're on 200 grand a week, £1,000,000 a week, 50 grand a week. It doesn't matter.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's pressure, right? Because that kid, whether he's got 100 fucking quid in his bank account or 10pence in his bank account, may still struggle mentally if he's somebody that struggles mentally. So that doesn't mean the pressure came from being a footballer or the pressure to win or the pressure of having the money. That could happen because he just feels that way. Because there's lots of people who just feel that way. Whether they have wedge or don't have wedge.
Yeah, but if you feel that way, that's your mental state. That's the point. You're making the point that I'm making. The money is irrelevant. The money is irrelevant.
The money's not irrelevant. Money solves so many problems, Niall.
No, but these boys face different problems. Because there's only so many gaffs you can buy. There's only so many Ferraris you can buy, a Bugatti you can buy.
He's Jadon Sancho first. He's a footballer second. So that's my point. He could still have all those same issues sitting at home.
But the
so
point
he's not
is,
necessarily feeling the pressure from playing for Man United.
The point is, when you sign a contract like that and you go to play for a club like Man United, you'll find that you're the footballer first and you're Jadon Sancho second. And this is what happens. This is exactly what happens, Darren. 100%. 100%.
Not at all. Not at all.
So then why do they fall apart?
But how many have fallen apart?
I'm not saying they all fall apart.
So then if you're asking a question, you're saying to me, why do they fall apart? I can't tell you because we don't have any answers. And we also don't know who's falling the fucking apart. If we had numbers,
most of the time we do. Most of the time,
if we had numbers and statistics to tell us these things, but we also know in daily life, there's numbers and statistics of people who are going to struggle.
Yeah, but there's obviously elite sport people out there, the Ronaldos, the Messis of this world that come to the top, who can handle the pressure, who can take all that on and find a way of dealing with it and bottling it up and putting it into performance, stuff like that. They're kind of pretty unique.
I don't necessarily think pressure is the right word because I understand what you're trying to say, but I don't feel like pressure is the right way of putting it because what I do think is, right, I do think mentally, they prepare themselves. Now, that's not necessarily about feeling, because, okay, I'm a tennis coach, right? Now, what I will tell you is, if you do something enough times, you'll never feel pressure doing that thing because you've done it enough times, right? So to define the word elite athlete, they have to have spent 10,000 hours over 10 years, which is about 30 hours a week, doing a particular sport. That guarantees you nothing. It doesn't even tell you you'll win a match. But what it says is to be an elite athlete and to be in that bracket, you need to have done 10,000 hours over 10 years. Now, if I get you to hit forehands for fucking 30 hours a week, right, for 5 years, you can guarantee by the time that fifth year comes, you won't miss a fucking forehand because you've done it so many times. You've committed it to muscle memory. That's not then about pressure at the next phase because that comes naturally. You do that in your fucking sleep. Tiger Woods could beat the rest of the boys with a fucking hurl. The reason is he's got more talent and ability. Is he able to mentally deal with things? Absolutely. But that's not pressure. That's just being mentally strong. Pressure is when, you feel like, and this is where Arsenal fell down, for my money. Pressure is when you feel like you're not at the level where, you can beat the other player. What somebody who's mentally strong can do is they can visualize and they can imagine themselves beating that other player. That's where Arsenal fell down. Arsenal kept looking over their shoulder, waiting for City. And the problem was they looked so many times, City went past them. If Arsenal keep their head down and go straight for that line, they get there before they give City an opportunity. But they didn't. And that's down to the coaching setup, and that's down to mentality for me, not pressure.
And I blame the coach
Privilege.
for that night. They all said about the lads with their interviews, and you could see a fear kind of in their eyes.
Yeah.
That comes down to the management, like. That has to come from the management. That to calm the players down, to get the right mentality in order. Arteta, not the man. I'm saying it all the time. He's not the man. This season.
If that was Alex Ferguson, or if that was a Pep Guardiola,
they'd win us.
And they see that kind of fear in their own players' eyes, they don't send them for the fucking interview.
Yeah.
You're not going. I'll
Yeah.
go. I'll put myself in the 49. How many times did Fergie come out and blame the referee, blame the fucking lino, blame the colour of the jersey, blame anything they could blame?
Blame himself.
Right?
Blame himself.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
alleviate the lads from any blame.
Yeah.
Which then mentally tells them, we haven't done anything wrong. We keep doing what we're doing. We keep
Yeah.
doing what we're doing. We keep doing what we're doing. And Arsenal stopped doing what they were doing.
Fact.
Absolutely, Doug. You're welcome on anytime, my friend. Anytime you want to jump
And
in.
by
Like
the
that,
way,
the
I just
dugout.
like to say there, Dancer, I didn't know you were a tennis coach. A tennis coach. I love tennis, man. I love tennis.
Good man, Kyle.
That Darkovic is an absolute beast of a man, isn't he?
He's a machine. He's a machine.
Like Federer is my favorite.
No pressure.
Federer is my favorite player, but Darkovic, my God.
Tennis is different than football. Tennis players aren't on a contract. There's no guarantee.
Well,
Tennis
there's
is
the
the same
sponsorship.
No. Tennis is the same as golf. You have to play for your spot. In football, you don't. If you sign a contract, you get paid money over the period of that contract. In tennis and golf,
but you're still getting paid by BMW
tennis,
or Rolex or whoever it is.
Not everybody, only the top guys. If you're outside the top 100 in men's tennis, you don't make a living. Right? If you're outside the top 100. If you're outside the top fucking 400 players in the Premier League, you're probably still on the best part of fucking 30 or 40 grand a week. And that's only in one league in the world, not the absolute league. So that's like fucking measuring apples and oranges. That just doesn't equate.
Yeah, but we're talking when we're talking about Arsenal, we're talking about the Premier League, we're talking about the absolute league.
Right? Well, yes, and Spain is the league. Fucking, we know
the Premier League is the league. Let's not get into that.
Listen, do you think they're going to fucking Saudi Arabia for nothing? They're going for big bucks, right? They're going for the guarantee of money. And we've said money solves an awful lot of problems. Now, if I know that I'm going to play on the PGA Tour every year for 10 years, the chance is I'll have an opportunity to win something. I can't guarantee that because year to year, if I don't keep my card, I have to go fucking down a level. And I have to go and play for peanuts in the back arse of fucking nowhere. So there's pressure attached there, and there's pressure attached to the tennis. In a team, I can be shit. I might lose my place in the team, but you know what? My contract says I get 150 grand a week. So if I don't have a place in the team, I couldn't give a fiddlers. And if I play badly, there's 10 other guys who can fucking pull me over the line. In a singular sport like tennis or golf, if I don't do it, I am fucked. And that's the end of it.
Right. Let's move on and have a quick chat then. We've been going an hour and 22. Quick chat about Chelsea and what's going on there. Six transfers in a day.
They're a shower of cheating bastards. And you can clip that one as I do. Of course I fucking mean that. Do you think I don't mean that?
But you were bigging it up yesterday, weren't you? No? Was that not you bigging it up yet? I thought you were bigging it up on
fucking certainly wasn't.
So what you're feeling about him? We're hearing also stuff coming out today about Ruben Neves, who's after going off there and signed by Al Hilal, potentially getting loaned back to Newcastle and all.
Well, here's the thing about Chelsea. And I know we know a Chelsea fan, actually, don't we? We do know a Chelsea fan, don't we? Can't wait to see the business plan of Chelsea are. We do know a Chelsea fan. And my argument with our Chelsea fan, with our friend Ian, was Newcastle are owned by the Saudis. We know this. Yeah? Chelsea are owned by an investment, or, a percentage of Chelsea is owned by an investment company who now looks like they've been invested in by the Saudis, right? And who are now using a backdoor to get rid of the players off the books because of the spend they've done in the last 2 windows, which will then alleviate them of any stress going forward. Now, if this is Manchester United, as we are, we can't get a Harry Maguire. We can't get a Scott McTominay. We can't get an Anthony Langan off the books, which means we can't bring players in. Chelsea can, because they're having their own boys buy them from Saudi Arabia. That's cheating. That is absolute blatant cheating. And I'll tell you how strongly I feel about it. I would say that's a much bigger issue than the 115 charges against City.
Well, certainly it could evolve that way without a shadow of a doubt. It's a real big issue and stuff like that. And it's what did you make of Carragher and Gary Neville, of course, calling for regulation and all this kind of thing?
Absolutely.
But I mean,
absolutely.
I think the problem we have with regulation, along with the financial fair play and all that kind of stuff, we don't seem to have the knowledge or the system that's fit for purpose. So
Well,
it's a real difficult one, isn't it?
There's a have you ever heard of this? There's a test when you're buying a Premier League club. Do you know about this test?
Yeah.
Do you know what the test is called?
It's the fit and proper, isn't it?
It's the fit and proper test to own a club. Now, if Todd Bowley was coming in to buy Chelsea and they were using an investment firm like Clearlake, yeah, there should have been some sort of knowledge.
Red flag.
Of who was investing in this firm, where the money has come from, where the money has been driven from, right? This is huge. This is absolutely huge. If you're not wrong, Ted. And this is, I feel, as blatant a cheating as anything you've seen. I really, really do. I mean, you look, and when you see a Havertz and a Mount leaving the building, you think, you know, Arsenal, United, okay, fine. Mendy, Ziyech, Koulibaly, you know, they start going through the repertoire of players on the way there, and I'm just scratching my head thinking, these guys couldn't give these lads away. How are they clearing the decks?
When I read it yesterday, I don't know how you felt about it, Kyle, but when I read it yesterday, I got the feeling that the Kovacic and the Mount and the Havertz thing was kind of done nearly to kind of legitimize what they were doing, nearly that, like, oh, but we're making all these other
fire sale.
Yeah, we're doing all these other things here as well. It's not just Saudi. You know what I mean? And yet the truck is pulling up and backing the players in and unloading them into the Saudi market. And we're going to see a few more, as far as I know, from what I heard as well. But my biggest concern was that's what I felt. One, I felt if they did the fit and proper test. Now, Chelsea's probably a bad example as well. Because if you remember back to Chelsea and the buyout, the UK government was under serious pressure at the time. Because this was like, find a buyer, get it over the line, or else Chelsea is going to disappear from football. It was pretty close. So I wonder how
close
they
we got exactly. How close have we skirted to the side of this the rules to find out and delve into this Clearlake and what goes on?
I reckon the document was Clearlake, 10 billion. That's enough for us, lads. We know they have the money and stuff like that.
And we won't check where it came from. And it's not an issue if it's come from another owner in the Premier League, i.e. Newcastle, because if it's coming from a similar fund, well, now, you know, we're in big trouble, because now there's a huge conflict of interests in the league, because now the games between Newcastle and Chelsea have huge significance because they're possibly owned or invested in by the same fucking people.
Or from the same pot. From the same pot, I would say, not necessarily the same people, but the same pot. Yeah, but we know how they move around. You know where I'm
right? So absolutely, yeah. So like this is a little bit shady for me. I have to be honest.
Okay, so I'm going
to call it cheating.
Yeah. So does this raise concerns with you then about the takeover at United? Like, this is not where we want football to go, is it? We don't want football to go this way.
Okay, here's the problem. Football's already gone that way. And it's now too late to stop.
So you either join them or you get left behind.
I think if we're going to go down the route, we've got to make sure that, you know, with the fit and proper owners test and stuff like that, that there's a very clear where, like, if I'm Saudi, right? And I'm Qatari, and the Qataris want to outdo the Saudis, and the Saudis want to outdo the Qataris. That's okay, because that's competition. I want that, right? I want that between clubs. I want that between fans. That's what keeps the league the way it is. However, if I'm Newcastle and I'm Saudi, and I'm Chelsea and I'm Saudi from the back door because of Clearlake, now we have a problem. And if, you know, Bournemouth are sold, and it turns out it's an investment company and there's more Saudis, well, all of a sudden, we're a league run by the Saudis. See, you know,
Kyle mightn't have seen this, but what you said rang true with me a couple of weeks ago when you said on our WhatsApp group, you turned around and said signing any player is a risk.
Hugely.
Now signing any player isn't a risk because you can just
Well,
pay it off.
It is if you're Chelsea.
No,
or
but
it is if you're
that's what I
Newcastle.
mean.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I mean.
If so, there's still, you know, and this is what's going to stop. So maybe, you know, we talked about Todd Bowley and how nuts he was with his scattergun approach to transfers. Maybe Todd knew a lot of this, and maybe Todd said, you know what, I can buy 20 lads, and actually I only need 3 or 4 to work because I can ship all the rest out and recycle this pot of gold, right? And as long as I keep doing this, if I can get 20% of what I do right and I sign a certain volume of players, we'll be successful. And that is cheating. That's 100% cheating.
Yeah. Doug is
Whereas if Arsenal only buy 4 players and they need those 4 players to be absolute gold to get them to the next level, or risk losing financially and risk losing competitively in the league, then they're under a little more. You know what I mean?
Dazzler, will Man United be City's challengers this season? Kyle, Darren, what do you think?
It'll depend on what we do in the window.
It's very difficult with what they're probably going to do, isn't it?
Absolutely. Kyle? That's absolutely.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say Chelsea are cheating. It is cheating. It's a disgrace what's happening. Football that we love and are so passionate about is finished. It's a business, massive business. And who the fuck does Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher think they are? First of all, Jamie Carragher should never be allowed to work in Sky Sports ever again. Because I swear to God, and I swear on God, if he hawkered at my daughter the way he hawkered that poor girl, would have got out of the car and would have let him stone fucking dead. That's number one. And now he's out now and he's mouting about this and mouting about that. Gary Neville, he's what the dads would know better than me. He's one of the owners of Salford. He was giving players 4 times the wages than any other player in that league to get them promoted from that league. So who the fuck does he think he is?
Yeah, but we knew Gary Neville owned this club. And they still have to live within financial regulations in the league they're in. What they do is they push the money about very differently in the squad. They will pay it per a certain player, you know, like a Matty Lund, 4 times the wage, but then someone else has to get less so they can live within their budget. Do they have a bigger budget? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's all done within the realms. And we know who it's owned by. It's not owned by Salford City Foundation, which now having money pumped up the arse of it by fucking Abdul and the Butcher from fucking, you know, Jeddah. And this is the problem.
Shout out that
it is a big problem. And the game that we all love, as I say, like Saudi Arabia, like, this could end up being a Super League. We
will absolutely end up playing Premier League games in Saudi Arabia the way the Yanks come and play the American football in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
You'll eventually end up with a global league, won't you? You'll end up with a global league.
What's going to happen.
If you've 19 league games a season, you might play 12 of them at home and you'll put 7 of them elsewhere in the world, and that'll be to make your money and make a fortune. Now, that only works with certain clubs, because let's be honest, you know, West Ham ain't going to take too many fans to fucking Kuala Lumpur to play against Ipswich on a Tuesday night.
No.
But when you get to the Super League stage, when you get to that big books, that heavy green, that's when we're going to see Real and United in fucking in Dallas, Texas. We're going to see AC versus Inter in Jeddah. We're going to see, you know, fucking Arsenal and Spurs in the North London derby in fucking Qatar.
Yeah. Inter Miami or Inter Milan?
Who knows?
Good question here from Mark. Saudis or Americans? Who's worse? I guess, Mark, that depends on which team you follow, doesn't it?
The Americans are worse.
Well, I can tell you that the Americans are brutal.
The Saudis at least have money to cover their bullshit. The fucking Yanks haven't got a bleeding penny. Everything's up to JP fucking Morgan and fucking everyone else. They're all debted up to the eyeballs. At least the Saudis are using their own that way, me.
Yeah, Mark is saying regulation won't stop them yet. They'll continue to exploit and find loopholes. Doug's in. Kyle, where do you think Arsenal will finish?
Yeah, listen, from the transfer window so far, I think it's a joke. We know what we want. We can't. Either wouldn't close the door. Never mind close transfers. I'm going as far as saying 5th, maybe 6th. I cannot see us in the top 4 next season.
In the future, no English club will be run by the English. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, we're getting closer to it, aren't we?
We knew the John Joe Shelby updates were incoming. Absolutely.
Is he on his honeymoon at this stage? Did I leave that? Did I read that? Got married recently, didn't he? I think he's on his honeymoon.
John Joe, I think he did, yeah. The Super League was never going away. Absolutely, it was never going away.
We're going to have it. I say within the next 5 to 6 years, we're going to have a Super League.
Carvo's in, our Newcastle United fan in the chat. I prefer not to speak. Big up Carvo. Love it. Absolutely, yeah. And that's why, and Carvo, that's why I put the question to Darren about the whole Qatar situation as well, because could we see a similar situation unfold as well? You just never know, you know. John Joe Voldemort was defeated by Harry Potter. Absolutely. Have I anything else to add? Darren, I wanted to get your thoughts. Gary O'Neill sacked and Darren Moore sacked. I think Darren's was mutual consent as far as I heard.
I believe he was told when he didn't make the automatic thing he was going to be sacked. And then he went on and got them promoted through the playoffs and still knew he was going to be sacked. And you were thinking, hold on a minute, you've told him he's going to be sacked before you even get to the playoff final. Mental. Gary O'Neill is a strange one. I think it's obviously something that's been going on in the background.
Does that lighten things?
The Bournemouth owner is an American, and he owns the Denver Nuggets, who have just won the NBA Finals. They beat the Miami Heat in the finals. And he's partial to a bit of success, this guy. Seems to know how to run a club, how to build. I could see big things for Bournemouth. I could see really big things for Bournemouth. If we look at how the season went, and obviously brought in Gary O'Neill and stuff like that, and then from the takeover, they hit the transfer window. He threw a couple of million at it in January to make sure they got up and kept themselves in the league because he didn't want to drop back down into that championship and risk losing the money. I think Bournemouth will make some decent signings this summer. I think the boy Ariola will do a really good job. I think this lad, I think this Yankee might have a little bit of a clue on what he's doing because he's previously run a sports team. Little bit.
In fairness, for the last 8-12 months or whatever it is, we've been laughing at Todd Bowley. I'm not sure whether I can continue laughing. Not too sure. Carvo's in. Wait till you see WrestleMania being held in the Middle East.
We won't be going to that one.
We might. Who knows?
Oh God.
We might. The lack of alcohol might be a problem. That's the only thing pending.
Not for me.
Right. That is everything I have. I had a few other bits to cover. But I'm not going to cover them. We'll keep them at the moment anyway. I might cover them in the morning brew and stuff like that. One of them, Darren, you would have enjoyed. Andros Townsend coming out and accusing Jordan Henderson of sledging was one that I wanted to talk about. We'll cover it in the morning brew. So check it out in the morning, folks. Cheap Heat is in. Can you ask Coyle his thoughts on Stephen Kenny?
I don't know if you saw it the other night. I was on a show the other night with a few Arsenal boys. And Morris was saying the chat, I think. And Jaminho and a few of the lads. But I went up on the coach up to that game against Gibraltar the other night. And I actually protested for Kenny out. I was the only one outside the stadium. No one else. So I decided, instead of walking around and around the circus around the Aviva, I decided to go back to the bus, and that's what I did. And I sat in the bus and I went on the live show on YouTube. And I was just saying, where is the standards? I was the only Irish fan shouting from the country for standards to rise. Because, no, that is the worst load of shite I have ever seen with a green jersey. And there's fans calling me a lunatic for what Kenny Oaks. They're trying to tell me he's a better manager than Jack Charlton.
That's shades of Havertz and Bergkamp, isn't it? You're having a bad week, Coyle. You're having a bad week.
I'm having a really bad week.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what's going on with it, though. You know, I know what people say he hasn't got the players and all. Yeah, I understand that. But sure, he got like me and you could come up with a better game plan than what he comes up with.
I think what I would say is I think the player situation I think is a really valid point. But I do think we should be doing better with what we have available. I don't think he's getting the best out of what we have.
No.
I think he's picking players that shouldn't be around.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
he's picking players at the moment that aren't good enough.
100%.
But do you know what it is? I really do think, and I'm not Kenny in. You know what I mean? I can understand where you're coming from. It's very hard to watch. I'm sure you were up there the other night, 0-0 at halftime. You must have been beside yourself thinking, where's this going to go?
Nice. I'm telling you, man. I was the only one outside the Viva, Kenny out, protesting. And people look at me like I have two heads. What's wrong with this fella? And it's acceptable to go in there and look at Ireland drawing nil up to half time with Gibraltar. Sure, it don't make sense, like.
Yeah, I think the problem is, I think what's happening at the moment, as much as we have a desire for Kenny to be out and stuff like that, the question is, we know that we have a football organisation here at the moment that's basically flat broke. I know they're paying him $500,000 a year and stuff like that, but let's be honest, $500,000 for an international manager, where for me and you, that's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
If you do a comparable on that, that's you're not going to bring in any kind of level of quality, to be honest.
No.
I think what happened was, I think where the FAI found themselves, it suited them to put Stephen Kenny in place.
Yeah.
One, because he was a much cheaper option than what they would go out and do. Look at the money they paid O'Neill. Look at the money they even paid Staunton. Look at the money that they paid Trapattoni. All these kind of things. So let's be honest about that. So, and I think it also suited them at the time to use him as the shield. The same way as clubs use, we would use Klopp as a shield for FSG. That's the way it works. He's the guardian kind of thing, And I just think as well, I think it's it's a real tough one, because I don't think what we're experiencing now and the hassle over the last, say, 3 years and the football being so poor is the previous regime and poor management of the FAI and everything that went on, wasting money on stupid stuff and on personal stuff and not using it to develop grassroots football, not to develop the scouting system. Like, for us not to have tied down Declan Rice and Jack Grealish is an absolute sin. It's a mortal sin when you think about it. And I think they're the kind of sins that we're paying for now as Irish football fans. And I think Kenny is he's going to be the guy, he's going to be the flag bearer for it when we look back on this in 10 years.
Yeah.
But who would take that job right now? Who's out there now that would take that job? How are they going to pay him? Have they got the money to pay Kenny off? What else are they going to be doing this campaign? They'll probably have to bin it off. And what else can they do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just simply don't have that. They're flat broke. I mean, they were going cap in hand to the government to just stay open. You know what I mean? And it's just.
But sure, we had a gangster on the fucking place. The lady was pure out no gangster.
Yeah.
And now we find our country now in the worst days our country has ever been in when it comes to international football.
And many other levels, not just international football, on a lot of levels.
This goes from grassroots all the way. This has a huge impact. And Ireland as a nation, I can't see us being competitive in any kind of competition line in the next 20 years. That's the reality of it. It's embarrassing. So,
yeah, I think Morris is right. Morris, when I talk to Morris about it, you always have to reflect on the record. Like, I don't know what it is now, 5 wins in 25 or something competitive games. And, and I think it's 9 wins in 34 games or 10 wins in 35 games or whatever it is now. Like, the record is horrible. There's no doubt about it. But I just think it's a real tough one. We definitely need change. And I think if we bring in change, whoever we bring in, I mean, Trapattoni was a terrible appointment. O'Neill was worse. Bringing Roy Keane in as well with the history that was there and all. It was just never going to work and stuff like that. And it's just, all these different decisions now have kind of, they've all snowballed. That plus the wasting of so much money and stuff like that and all. And I don't necessarily want to get into, evolve into a Kenny kind of show and stuff like that. But I just think the way it went, I think it's a real tough one to take, because I'm of the age. I remember the Walkinstown roundabout. I remember 88. I remember 90. I lived through all that, and how sport lifted this country out of the doldrums and out of the dark days and the recession and depression and all that kind of stuff. And the thing that I say all the time is, I don't think these players realise when they're pulling on that Ireland jersey the overall effect it has on people and their lives, and the hope that they bring with it. That what happens is, you go up there, as you did the other day, to a match against Gibraltar. You're either going to walk away from that match feeling really good and have a real positive end to the week or whatever it is, or you're going to walk away from that match feeling absolutely shit and negative, and that's going to affect your week in a different way. And I just don't think that we connect and we correlate those things. When we went through that Jack Charlton era in 88 and 90 and stuff like that, it can't be explained to people the impact that had on this country. And I just think a lot of that is lost. And I think now it's a case of, I think a lot of players these days, to be honest with you, find international football a pain in the backside. It's an extra that they feel an obligation to do, and they go and they do it. But I think they feel it's a hindrance after a long season, or in the middle of a season, or playing a World Cup in the middle of a season and all. Unless you're playing for, the bigger countries, the Germanys, the Brazils, the Argentinas, the Frances and stuff like that. I think when you're playing for the lower teams and stuff like that, I think it's in some cases it's not the privilege that it was in terms of putting on the jersey, and they don't feel the weight of expectation of how it affects you. And that's where I kind of leave, and that's where that's my thoughts on it.
You're spot on. I'll tell you something else tonight. You'll never be able to explain to anyone what 88 and 90 was like, and 94. You had to live through that night to actually understand it. And thank God we lived through it. And we experienced this, and we can bring it to our graves. We know what they've done for the country. The celebrations, the togetherness. It was unbelievable time to be an Irish soccer fan. Unbelievable. And we will never, ever experience that again, ever in our lifetimes.
Yeah, I think what people forget about that time as well is Jack and the scouting team had done such a great job in going over and convincing players to declare for Ireland, to play for Ireland. And these were players who were playing really high level football, if you remember. The Ronnie Whelans, the Ray Houghtons, the Mick McCarthy's, all these different players. Packy Bonner, absolute legend up at Celtic and stuff like that and all, So we had a moment in time where we had brilliant players. And then we sort of evolved and we came into the Robbie Keanes and the Damien Duffs and Richard Dunns and all these players who again were playing really, really good football at a very high level. But I just think those regimes that came in, they stymied football in terms of the development. They hung on to players too long that shouldn't have been in the team. And they didn't allow players to go out and express themselves. I mean, the case in point, the example, Wes Hoolahan, who was a fabulous footballer, an absolute brilliant footballer, was always shackled, always held back, never allowed to expose what he could do and stuff like that. And because of that, then when he went on the pitch, he was always stymied in the way he looked, the way he played, and then people didn't think he was a good footballer. He was an excellent footballer.
He was
excellent footballer, and that's always my go-to example, and that's me summing up how I feel about the Irish situation and stuff like that. I just think that we're gonna. The pain that we're going to feel in relation to what happened with the FAI and John Delaney and all this kind of stuff, I think we're going to feel that for a number of generations. I think that's, I seen it. I coached at grassroots level, and I know, and I know the amount of fundraising we had to do was just
it's
crazy, absolutely crazy.
Very, very sad. Very sad.
Mark, give it to Lampard. Jesus. Lampard ain't getting into a discussion with anyone for 500 grand. I can guarantee you that. Irish media, Kenny brainwashing the past 3 years. The results were never much better though, Morris. We might qualify for the tournament, then get smashed and knocked out in the group stages because long ball doesn't work. Short ball and passing ain't working at the moment either. So I don't know. I think I don't mind even if we make it to the last stage of a tournament and even getting beaten in the group, because at least there's a bit of an excitement. There's a wave in the country.
No, it's not
there's something to look forward to.
Not going to happen, Not going to happen. Not for another 20, 30 years.
If we are going to be losing games, I'd rather we were playing a decent brand of football than build it long. Yeah, but at some stage you have to turn around and accept that if you want to play a certain way of football, you have to have the tools in the box to play that way. You can't. It's like we very quickly realised this season at Liverpool as well. We were playing that high line and high press game, but the tools had exited the building either from an energy point of view or a leg point of view or whatever it is, and we persisted with doing it and doing it and doing it, and it came back to bite us. I think real good coaches realise. I mean, Charlton was the master of it. He realised that the players that he had, he realised their positive stuff, what they could do, and he structured the game around what these players could do. That's a real good coach. You know what I mean? Morris in ridiculous statement. I'd rather lose pretty than win ugly. Yeah, no, I'd rather win ugly. Yeah, look, you have to, at this level, you have to win. You have to, I mean, you know what I mean? Would anyone have been upset the other night if we had a beaten Greece with a long ball nodded on and looped over the keeper? Roy Keane nowadays, watching him, he's just a complete migraine. He's box office though. Sorry, just my opinion. Yeah, and you're entitled to it. Oh, we win one, maybe 2 extra games a year playing Hill for long. Really not all that much better. We don't have the players to play football, actual football. You see, look, there's Greece who are like 4 places ranked lower than us, I think, in the rankings. You know, and I was talking to some Greek guys. They came onto one of the videos that I did, and they were chatting to me, and they were explaining to me how good Greece was, and I was listening to what they had to say, because for me, Greece, I only really would know Costas, maybe 1 or 2 others, but I wouldn't know a whole lot about it. But I was saying the way and the ease in which they passed through us and won the ball and opened us up and stuff like that. And I said to them, only for Bazunu we would have shipped 4 or 5 goals.
It was like watching Brazil against us. That's what it was like. Yeah. You know, and it's Greece we're talking about. Just scandalous.
Since when does winning games not matter? My goodness. Listen, we've taken the fire that we brought tonight with Dazzler and we shifted it over into the chat. They're having their own little show here over in the chat. I'm trying to keep up with it. Oh, yeah, funny games. Sure, he might have a lot of knowledge. And look, Kenny has, like, he's won things. You know what I mean? He has quite a good record at underage level and a pretty good record in the Irish League as well. And I think, did he win the Scottish Cup with Dunfermline as well or something like that, if I'm right? So, like, I mean, it's not like he doesn't know how to win things, but it's just, I just think that whole setup is just, it's done from start to finish, really. Winning games does matter, but does winning 1 extra game a year with shit football instead of playing nicer football, that's more enjoyable to watch, isn't really that bad a trade-off. Yeah, the problem with it is I think the numbers are different than that. It's not winning 1 extra game; it's literally winning 1 game. That's the problem. Morris, he won 5 out of 25 games with his expansive style. Oh, Morris, you legend. A high line only works if you can pin them back. Yeah, exactly. Myself and Mark spoke about this all season, how poor that high line was. Sure, O'Neill won 18 out of 46. Yeah, good Lord, yeah. But it's just
shocking. It's not just
shocking. O'Neill is a different level of disappointment.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're sitting here and we look at Jack Grealish, 100 million to Man City. We look at Declan Rice, 100 million to maybe Man City or Arsenal. You know, that's a different O'Neill conversation, really. Warren Kroenke's video today was absolutely spot on. Yeah. Got us to a major tournament. We had 1 game to do it and failed after Mick and messed up every chance since. Yeah. Sexy football, yeah. Right, that's it, folks. Thanks for joining us tonight. It got a bit heated at times, which I kind of enjoy. I like being in the battle of it. You were quite calm. You were kind of referee tonight. I was expecting you to come on. You gave it going. You got us fired up, and then I spoke about pressure. Darren spoke about mentality and mental and stuff like that. It was all good. You sat there doing referee. You were the Earl Hebner tonight of the referee.
I was the camera fella tonight.
Which is most unusual, but it was all good.
It's very unusual.
Absolutely. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Have a great week, folks, for coming into the weekend. Really, really enjoyed that one. What's he saying? Jez was missing yourself, Kyle, on the Arsenal quiz.
No, I just like to say I jumped on, but I missed. I had the crown night. I bet Kenny Kane for the quiz crown, and
That's a big scalp to be taken. That's a big scalp to be taken.
Yeah. And I held on to the crown for the last, I think about a month and a half now, 2 months. So tonight we had another quiz. So I think there was 7 or 8 of us on it. But I joined this. In the first, there were 30 questions, 10 questions in each round, 3 rounds. And I came in on the 7th question in round 1. So I missed the first 6 questions. So anyway, Kenny Ken got 100. Oh, in total, he got 132. And in the last section was all Arsenal. I got 50 out of 50. And in the second round, I got 27. And in the 3 questions that I got in the first round, I got 16. I came in on 93. Well, Kenny Kane, I gave the crown to Kenny Kane. Well, Kenny Kane, in fairness to him, he said, no, we have to do this again. You have to be there from question number 1 all the way through. So I told him, he's against the ropes. I'm coming for him.
Brilliant.
They're great quizzes, by the way. Jez does a great quiz show.
Yeah, I must check them out, actually. I must check them out with Jez. Yeah, absolutely. Great channel, Jez Collins and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Kenny's a legend as well, isn't he? The boys with League One. It's great when the boys get together. It's super band. And Lee is just, I'm watching some of Lee's content at the moment. He is just losing his shit at the minute. He is out there. I actually said the comment into one of them today saying, maybe you might be better off fecking down to the lane. It'd be less stressful.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. I was supposed to do a video today, but I'm happy so busy. But I'm definitely don't want tomorrow night. I have a bit of time in my hands tomorrow. I'm don't want about Harvard. My opinion about that whole situation. My opinion about Declan Rice. So it's not going to be too pleasant because I will be letting off some steam. Let me tell you. So keep an eye up.
You know what's going to happen, don't you? We're going to wake up in the morning and it's going to be Rice to Arsenal. Here we go. Done deal. And we're all going to be sitting here with egg on our faces going, Jesus, okay.
Right. That's just dreaming, brother. That ain't happening.
Eno's taking us home tonight. We are now over and out. Absolutely, folks. If you could, subscribe to all the channels in the chat and including Kyle's. Get over there, subscribe to his channel. Big things coming from that channel this season. It's going to be an absolute crazy time. Of course, subscribe to the upper tier. And as always, like on the video, hit the bell notification, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Also, check out Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. We got audio versions of the show up there. Sometimes we're not always the prettiest on screen, so maybe audio is the better option for some people at times. But however, let's see what happens. Until next time, folks, an absolute pleasure. Kyle, pleasure having you on as always. Darren, I don't know where Darren went. Maybe the pressure of the stream got to him and he had to go off or something like that. But we'll chat again tomorrow. No doubt.
That's what's the for the pressure, so he had to go off.
That's it. Cheers, folks.